Hello, today I'd like to demonstrate a new trading robot that we've published today. It's the DiNapoli Stochastic Trading Robot. It uses a DiNapoli Stochastic Oscillator, which has got a much higher probability of identifying a price reversal when an instrument has been oversold or overbought. Okay, I'll quickly just go through where you can get it from. If you go to ClickAlgo.com, if you go to our website, you can see it here. If you go to software and you go to classic automated strategies, you'll see it here, okay? What I'm going to do now is just open up cTrader, because I just want to show you. I'll go back to the page in a minute. I want to show you the robot in action in cTrader. I want to show you what it's about. I also want to show you what the parameters are so you can set it up. So this is the new version of cTrader. ClickAlgo and cTrader are both now merged into one. So your algorithmic trading and your manual trading are in the same platform. This is not released yet, but I think by the time you watch this video, it should be released and you should be using it already, okay? So what I'll do, I'll click on this little button here, Automate. This is going to open up the automated trading part of the application. So I'll go straight into it. The robot that you'll download from us, you'll double click and it'll automatically install into the platform. It's that easy. You just add a new instance, so you'll right click on this robot, click add instance, and then you can add these, you can set the parameters you want to use, okay? So what I'm going to do is just first of all go through the parameters with you and explain them, okay? What you'll see is the instrument, the symbol at the top, okay? You just select the symbol you want. We've just done some quick tests for Germany 30, which is DAX, very popular, and the Euro Dollar, which is also very popular for the currency pairs, okay? Default time frame is 1 hour, and then I'll go through the rest of the parameters. So you've got show registered user. This will show on the screen who the registered user is of the software. That's quite simple. Activate auto trading. If you turn this off, you can just have, if you look at the bottom here, you can just have send an email, display a pop-up. So if you turn this off, it will just send you an email or display a pop-up when the instrument is extremely oversold or extremely overbought, and you're getting a possible price reversal, okay? If you leave it on, you can have the alert still being sent to you, plus the trade will open. Lot size, that's pretty self-explanatory. Max spread, okay, max spread's very, very useful. In times when there's, say, low liquidity and it's running very slow, the spreads might widen. So you don't really want to be trading if you've got, say, a stop loss of 10 pips and your spread is 10 pips. Straight away, you're going to lose that trade. So the idea is you don't want to trade when the spread's high. You can specify a value in here and that will prevent that from happening. And it can be very useful for periods where, say, the spread does go to a very large amount and all of a sudden you open a position and it closes immediately, okay? Stop loss and take profit, they're pretty straightforward. Include trailing stop. This is the feature we use on all of our robots. Again, this is how this works. It adjusts your stop loss so that if you gain, say, for example, in this case, 25 pips, it will actually move the stop loss 5 pips below the price. As the price, say, increases another 5 pips, it will move the stop loss another 5 pips behind it. It trails 5 pips behind the price, okay? So it's a very useful feature. Trading hours, this is also a very useful feature. So you can specify the hours that you want to trade during the day. There might be periods that you don't want to trade using this robot. Then you've got your parameter settings for the actual indicator, okay? So the DiNapoli Stochastic Indicator has these 3 values, fast K, slow K, and slow D. You can change these to anything you want and change the type of indicator, how it actually is used. And you can you can optimize to get the optimal parameters as well if you want for a certain symbol, okay? We've got one called DiNapoli Curve Distance. This is very, very useful. I find this is, to be honest with you, one of the most useful features, and it's very basic, to be honest. And all it does, if you look at this chart here, you can see the red and green line, the signal and the result line, or result and signal, and you can see what it does when it checks at the close of a bar, because it does check at the close of each bar. That's when it checks for a single signal. It looks at the distance between, it goes back 3 bars, okay, and it looks at the distance between the result and the signal bar. Now, if it's very close together, like here, you can see it's very close together, it won't open up a position. The distance is not far. If it's a price reversal, see how it bounces here. It's a nice V-shaped bounce. The distance between the 2 lines is quite wide. So this is an experimental feature, but I found that this is very, very useful for really filtering out losses, filtering out drawdowns and losses, and improving results. and just a small adjustment on this DiNapoli curve distance can make a big difference. Again, if you optimize this robot, you'll notice that it can find the optimal curve distance. We haven't optimized this one, but you can optimize it. And I'll go through that again later, why it's useful to optimize the levels, okay? I'll explain that now. Now we've got into the levels here. There's 4 levels. You've got 2 levels for opening positions and 2 levels for closing positions. So you might want to open, in this case, to open a buy level, it's at 40. So when the price, when the 2 lines, the red and the blue line, drop below the 40 line, okay? It's not when they drop, because if, say, for example, if we did it as soon as they dropped below the 40, we'd be opening a position right over here, okay? Which means we'd have 29 pips drawdown before we actually start going back up. So the idea is, it's not when it just goes down, but when it crosses, when the result line crosses above the signal line, and it's rising, and it's below the 40. This gives a much more accurate entry point. So if you have a look here, the entry point for this trade, if I click on it, you can see was very accurate. Obviously it didn't catch right at the bottom, but it doesn't matter. But actually the entry point was there, and the exit point was up there just before it started coming down again. So that one was quite accurate. Now remember, this is all about probability, so it's not going to work every time, but the whole idea is that it works more than it doesn't work, if you see what I'm saying, okay? So that's just an example there how it works, and again you can see the distance between the result and signal line is quite wide, going back 3 bars there and back 3 bars there. So that's a very useful feature. Now to close the position, it isn't actually when it crosses, because you can see it doesn't cross. I think it's got to be falling and above the, I think I've got it so it's falling and above the close buy level, which is 60. So it has to be above 60, which it is. You can see it carried on going up, and it didn't start coming down until it was right at the top. So then when it started coming down and it was above 60, then it closed the position. And again, that's why it's 60, because it could go up to here and go back down. So it's just filtering out or trying to get the best probability of winning trades. That's what it's trying to do, and the maximum amount of trades, and reducing your drawdown as much as possible as well. Okay, so the same with sell. Sell will open up a sell position. If I can pick a sell and drag this line to there and that line to there, you can see that it opened a sell. You can see this was another classic example of where the actual V-shaped bounce off the for the price there, and where the actual indicator, the DiNapoli Stochastic Indicator, shows this beautiful kind of curve and the distance between the 2 lines. So it's not indecisive. It was a definite, like, you know, price reversal. And if I just scroll back here, you can see where it's no real structure going on there. It's kind of indecisive. So you could study this indicator, and like here, you can see the indecisiveness. There's no kind of anything going on here. So you want this kind of nice curve on this indicator to denote there's a price reversal, okay? So another parameter you've got down here, which is close DiNapoli reverse, okay? So there's a few ways to close positions. One is stop loss, one is take profit, and I think you've got trailing stop, okay? So you've got those 3 things, but also what we've done for this example, we're not using any trailing stop, we're not using any stop loss. We're only going to close a position when there's a change, when the instrument, so this is a sell, when it's been oversold and there's a higher probability that it's going to be a reversal in the price, then we close the position based on this indicator, the DiNapoli Stochastic, okay? And you can see that's happened here, and it does actually reverse. So what I'm going to do now is, actually I'll say the rest. So yeah, if you select close DiNapoli reverse, that just means that it will close positions on the reverse signal. So if a buy position opens, when there's a sell signal, the buy position will close and it will open up a sell. The sell will stay open. When there's a buy signal, the sell will close and the buy will open. It will kind of alternate between the 2 and just keep going that way. Doing it this way, it does give pretty good results. But you can turn this off by selecting no and just manage your closing positions using a stop loss, take profit, or trailing stop. So again, this has not been optimized because you can just see we're using standard 60-40, okay? But the results just on this are pretty good. You can optimize this, and I'll show you again in a minute. I'll show you in a minute how to optimize to get the perfect levels. You can see each instrument or each symbol will have different upper and lower levels or thresholds for when it's overbought or oversold. okay? Whether it's a currency pair or whether it's an indice. They'll all be different. To get the optimal values, you want to go back as far back as you can with the data to find the kind of the highest and the lowest. We have a tool that will allow you to load in 15 years worth of backtest data. So you could actually find the optimal higher and lower levels for opening and closing, for buys and sells, going back 15 years. And we sell this tool. I think if you look at somewhere on our website, you can find it. So ideally, that's how you use optimization, is to find the perfect levels that you're going to use, okay? So as I mentioned in the other videos, don't fit the data, don't fit the trades to the data, but you can fit indicator values, okay? You can fit these levels here. This would be very useful. At the bottom here, you've got send an email, yes or no, pretty straightforward. Then you've got display a pop-up, yes or no. And then you've got pause at news release. Now, this is a feature we've added. We've got a product called News Release Manager. What this product will do, it will actually pause your trading so many minutes before a news release. This is all configurable in a separate robot. There'll be a link on our webpage, on this webpage for this product. I'll show you at the end of the video, that actually tells you in more detail about the News Release Manager. But pretty much, if you've got trades open and a news release occurs and you're using technical indicators, that news release could send the price 1%, say 100 pips in the direction opposite of where your robot is. So straight away you're 100 pips in the black, you know, you're behind. So if you've got not a very big account balance, or you've got a very big position size, this could cause you some serious problems, especially if you only have, say, a target of only having a low drawdown on your main strategy of, say, 5%. It could push it way above that. So the idea is trade using a technical robot when the conditions are just technically, because a lot of automated robots are pretty much dictating the trends these days. So trading on a technical is not bad, but you've got to avoid market events, and you can't avoid all of them because there are certain market events out of your control that will cause the price to spike. But you can limit that damage, really. And to limit that damage, with the News Release Manager, you just pause trading so many minutes before a news release, so you don't open up any new positions. You also have the option here, if you look at the bottom left, to close all positions. So you could, if you knew there was a high impact news release, and the News Release Manager will allow you to configure this, you can actually stop opening new positions, say 1 hour before that news release, close any open positions you've got. The news release can happen, the markets can go crazy. Normally after the news release, it continues to go crazy for, I don't know, 4 to 6 hours or more after the news release. So most of the time, the price will come back down to where it was before, okay? And you can then restart the robot any time period you want. You can choose one day if you want, but say 6 hours after the news release, and you can continue trading on this technical robot. This bypasses the gambling factor. I mean, the news release might occur and you might make a lot of money, but that would be a 50-50 flick of the coin, whether it's going in your direction or not. So the whole idea is to minimize risk. So don't trade during a news release if you're using technical robot. And this is why it's very useful. Now, this robot is super cheap. We only sell it for like £10, but we give it away free with this trading robot. And again, we're going to do another video explaining how to configure and set it up for this robot if you do download it, okay? Okay, that's all the parameters. So what I'm going to do now is just quickly show you, what was I going to show you? I'm going to show you just a quick equity chart there, just showing this one, just 1 year back test, okay? As I said, this is not optimized, so I'm not expecting fantastic results. I'm sure if I went the whole year back, it won't be as good. You can see the price drop down there. That's what dropped the drawdown down, okay? So this little drop here, if you go to trade statistics, you can see there's a drawdown of 10% of my equity and 8% of my capital, okay? But there was a growth of 46%. Okay, you can reduce that if you reduce the size of your, normally if you reduce the size of your lots, you can reduce that value, or if you change a few settings, okay? So in this scenario, the drawdown's not terrible. It's pretty good. Could be worse, okay? And the returns aren't so bad. The idea is that this robot, as it stands, you know, we're going to give you these parameters. It's just a basic setup. You can improve these values by, adding trailing stop, using the News Release Manager. This is another thing I need to say, is the fact that running backtest on currency pairs, going back very far, if there is a major news release, of course there's going to be a large amount of drawdown, because as I spoke before about a news release that could occur, an event that could occur, that could massively give you a drawdown. If you don't use the news release, this could occur. So if I actually ran the backtest a lot further, you'd probably see some spikes in data. The whole idea is you use the news release manager to avoid this. Unfortunately, we can't backtest using the news release manager because it's not possible at this moment in time. Okay, so we can't say if there's a news release, let's not simulate this backtest. It's not built into the platform at the moment. If it was, that would be pretty cool because you'd know that this would work 100%. So the idea is to run it on a forward test. Just run it on a demo account, use the news release. When a news release event occurs, look at what actually happened, look at if it actually saved you, saved you actually going overdrawn. But the chances are it would definitely increase your returns. So this ran from a 1-year back test without using the news release manager, and it still gave 46%. Okay. So the history of the trades is here. So you can see all the trades that it opened and closed, and you can just click on them and see how it worked. Okay. Now the other one we did was the DAX, and on the DAX here, again the DAX doesn't actually, if you look at the equity chart, we've used again pretty much standard parameters. We use 30, 80, 70, 20. So you can manually, we kind of manually entered these values in a curve distance of 7. I'll show you, as I said in a minute, how to optimize that even better to get better results. I could have got even better results in this. Okay, this went back, what's that? Almost a year, yeah? Say 10 months or something. It only did 8 trades. 8 trades is not a lot, but if 8 trades can give you 73% profit, that's not bad. So it's not about how many trades you do, it's how much money you make in the year. So the idea on this robot, you can see it did 6 trades. The drawdown was 9%, okay? And a 5,000 starting capital. You could quite easily, see it's got a lot size of 4. If I just change that down to 1 and ran the back test again, that's going to reduce my profit, but at the same time, that's going to reduce my risk, my drawdown. And I'll just let that finish. It should do 6 trades again. Okay, that's just finished. That's done 8 trades. So it's done an 18% return, but if you look at the trade statistics, a 2.98% drawdown. That's a very, very low drawdown, low risk of your equity. So you had 0 balance at risk and less than 3% of your equity at risk. So at one point during that back test, you were 3% at risk. Okay. So you can, depending on how you trade, you can obviously get more values. So what I'm going to do now is, if you wanted, sorry, just quickly say, if you wanted more trades, you can configure the values and get more trades if you want. That's not a problem. Okay. I just wanted to show you optimization. Now I don't want to sit here all day and go through optimization because it will take me too long. So if, for example, that's what I was going to say. This is set as 1 hour for the Germany 30, okay? So it's set as a 1 hour time frame. Because the robot checks for signals every hour, this is another reason you don't get so many trades. And I honestly wouldn't worry if you had a robot and it only did 6 trades in 1 year. If you paid whatever for the robot and you ran it and 1 year you made, I don't know, £500 even, it's still part of your arsenal, part of your collection of robots that you'll have running. You'll have a slow trading robot, you'll have a fast trading robot. But from my experience, robots that, and certain types, actually depends what type of trading you're doing, but it doesn't, because you're not creating lots of trades, doesn't mean you're not making money, okay? But if you lowered the time frame to a lot lower level, it would open up a lot more positions. You'd have a lot more trades going on, okay? So optimization, there's another video that explains optimization in more detail, so you can find out how to optimize your robots. We do have another video on YouTube if you have a look. But in this case, we set the, that's probably why it's not done. Yeah, there was no commission on that, okay? So if I go to optimization, in optimization, you just set your starting capital. It doesn't really matter so much. There's no commission. What you want is here, these parameters here. Now, for this robot, I'm just going to quickly show you how to do your own optimization to get the perfect levels for the DiNapoli Stochastic and the curve distance. Okay, so what I'm going to do is uncheck, show registered users. I want auto trading. I'm going to leave my lot size at 0.1 because it doesn't matter. I just want the perfect values for the indicator. I don't care about returns really. So max spread doesn't really matter. I'm just going to stick that as 5 just in case. If you have it too low, it won't trade if your spread is too high. Stop loss I'm going to have is 0. 0 stop loss and 0 take profit mean that you're not using a stop loss or take profit, okay? I don't want to use a trailing stop, so it doesn't there. Include trading hours, no. Uncheck those. Scroll down a bit further. I'm going to leave the DiNapoli Stochastic parameter settings to standard 833. Now these are the values that I want to optimize. I'm just going to turn off send email, display pop-up, pause it, news release. Okay, so the values that I want to optimize for this particular symbol, because each symbol is going to be different, is my DiNapoli curve distance. I'm going to go from 1 to 15. You can then select open by. You can do 20 to 40. Okay, to close by. So when the DiNapoli Stochastic values go very high, you can have say 60 to 90. So you can choose the values you want that you want to use, and here we can do 80 to 60 and then 20 to 40. Okay, 60 won't work. Oh, it's got to be higher, wrong way around. DiNapoli open cell, that's got to be 60 to 80. Okay, step 1 means when it runs the backtest, I'm not going to go into backtesting in too much detail, but what it means is when you run the backtest, it will do it will simulate trading that occurred, in this case between 7th of the 2nd, 2018 to 7th of the 3rd, 2018. That's only 1 month, but it's going to simulate, if you go back 1 year, it will simulate 1 year. It will simulate a trade, your robot trading in that period. It will then change these parameters by stepping up. It won't start on 1 and go to 2 up to 15. It will run a simulation again, and it will keep running simulations, probably thousands of different types of simulations, and then it will keep trying these parameters until it finds the perfect parameters that give you the highest return. And I'll show you what it's looking for now. Is here, this optimization criteria. You want to maximize the net profit, you minimize your drawdown, and maximize your winning trades. Okay, so you pretty much just run that. You leave it on a genetic algorithm. And you run this to find out your perfect levels. Okay, so in this case, if I go back here, it's got 70 and 30. So every time the DiNapoli Stochastic drops right down, you see it dropped right down here, and it dropped very low. It dropped down to like 3.89, it says there. Okay, it dropped down to say 10. It's dropped down to 10. Now what that means is when it dropped down to about this level here, the DAX was extremely oversold. Okay, you can see there's a lot of selling that went on, and at some point it was going to reverse, and it did reverse, and it did bounce back up. Okay, this is just one example. Here you can see there's no real extremely oversold or overbought, and nothing really went on. There was no real, big change in price, but here there was. Now mixing this, you can see there was some indecision here as well, not a definite change, and that's why the distance between the result and the signal line is very narrow together. And here it's very messy. It's not a smooth curve. There wasn't a definite bounce in the price. So the flavor or the kind of indicator that we're using with the kind of logic that we've inbuilt definitely increases the probability of a price reversal. Now again, this can be used with other indicators, but we're not using it with a trend indicator. We're just leaving it as it is. And the idea is to give you a head start, and if it's an introduction to algorithmic trading, something that we're not going to promise you're going to make loads of money, but definitely something that you can get started with, and something you could understand easily enough. Okay, so I think that's about it. What I'm going to quickly do is show you the product. So on our web page, if you go to ClickAlgo.com, just go to software. We've got various trading software that you can download and run as well, but this is the classic automated trading strategies. Now in here you'll see the DiNapoli stochastic strategy, and if you scroll down, it'll tell you all about this strategy, the type of information that it sends you by email. So it'll send you an email and it'll give you all this information, which is the symbol, the time frame, the time price, the result value, and the trade direction. Okay, tells you more about the indicator. We'll give you the we'll give you the example parameters we've shown in this video so that you can use it. The news release manager will actually give you that robot as well and show you how to register and set that up. Some of the results are here. Again, you can do a 15-day trial. We can give you the copy and you can run it for 15 days to see if you like it or not. This is like a risk-free sort of way of doing it. If you're not using cTrader, you just click on this link and you go to the website and it tells you more about cTrader. And this video is just going to go here. I'm going to put it in here in a minute. The links at the bottom tell you how to backtest and optimize, and also our programming service if you want custom algorithmic programming to create your own robots. Okay. All right, I think that's about it. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up at the bottom because it really helps our ratings, and I hope you found this video useful.